What's up? And welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How is your week?
How is your life?
Going. And make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. You guys can follow us everywhere at Opposite Pod. You guys can search Opposites Attract Podcast in Google on whatever social media app you guys are on, and you can follow us that way. The best thing that you guys can do is to share this with somebody, like, subscribe, rate, give us a thumbs up,
all that good stuff.
Leave us a comment. Also, we have our new clips channel on YouTube.
Yes.
So if you guys haven't subscribed to that, which I know you haven't, go ahead and do that. You can find that on YouTube at Opposites Attract Podcast Clips. And it looks pretty much like our regular logo. It's just red. And it's got clips across the logo. So that's how you guys can find it. And all the clips will be coming out on that channel from now on.
So why did you switch the clips over?
Because of the algorithm. That's just what it is. Like, I noticed I don't like doing things for like just because or like for no reason. Like, if somebody's telling me to do something, I want to know the reason why, you know? And I had seen before that there was like Joe Rogan, he's got his podcast, but then there's like, he has a clips channel, but I never understood why there was a separate channel until we, talked to our friend BNS that we had on the podcast. And he was explaining like the differences and the reasons for having that clips channel. Cause he's grown. I think he had like 5 million subscribers? I don't know. He's got a lot.
Crazy.
But yeah, so that's why I started doing it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. And it's just one of those things that you put it on the list of things to do, and we get around to it.
Yeah.
Got the logo made and made the channel.
Very cool. Oh, sorry.
Yep. There you go, baby. So last week when I was right after we had recorded the podcast on that Sunday, I was sitting here, I was editing videos and everything. And Joey had came in here, and we were kind of, it was one of those things. We're just having, a talk about the different things that we do and why we do them and all that kind of stuff. And I was explaining to him that a couple weeks ago, the week before that, I had been in Connecticut, right? And then I had messed up my feet, like I mentioned on the podcast, training. And I was telling him that since then, like, I've had these scabs on my feet that like really burn, like they hurt. So when I go to jiu-jitsu, I put a Band-Aid over it, and then I put sports tape over it, and then I put electrical tape over it so that everything stays in place. But when you first start, like I was telling Joey, I was like, when I first start warming up and we're running around the mat, like it's pulling on the cut. Like, it hurts. Yeah. Like it stings. It just hurts. Mm-hmm. And once you start running around the mat a little bit, your feet starts to get, warmed up. They get a little sweaty. Maybe the tape stretches a little bit. Things kind of get into place, but it still like hurts. And I was telling Joey that while I was running around the mats, I had the thought, I'm like, there was pain. But at that point, when I was thinking about it, I was like, is this still pain, or is it just uncomfortable? Because there's a difference. There's a difference when something hurts and when something's uncomfortable. And I was like, at this point, it's not really pain. It's just uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel good. So I'll just keep going. Or the thought was, it's uncomfortable. Can I push through it? The answer is yes. So just keep doing it. And there was another situation that it was the same thing, was with doing pull-ups and having getting blisters on my hands. Like, over the last few weeks, I've like I said, I've been doing 100 pull-ups every day. And I was telling Joey that there was a day where I was doing pull-ups and I could feel the skin like just opening up underneath my hand. And yeah, the blisters are forming. And on that day, I was on my second set. So I was probably at 20 of 100. So I still had to do 80 more pull-ups with these blisters on my hand. And I told him that it hurts. I was like, but the other thing is, like I've said, I like to be able to do pull-ups. If you really do pull-ups, you have calluses on your hands. Like people that do pull-ups for a workout have calluses because that's just part of doing pull-ups all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's just part of the deal. You suck it up. Can I make it through these 20? Can I push another 10? Is it uncomfortable or is it pain? And a lot of times it's discomfort, and you can push through that. And if you don't push through those things, you'll never be doing pull-ups. You'll never get better at jiu-jitsu. You'll never get better at anything. Anything, because there's always going to be something that is going to be uncomfortable. There's always going to be something that gets in the way.
Yeah. This is there anything else you want to? This week.
No, I'm done. I'm complete.
This week, I woke up. I think it was on Thursday. As you can see, I'm a little burnt. Those of you that are watching the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, there's times where you have to push through, and even when you don't feel like it, but it's also being mindful as well. It's kind of like what you said. Is it pain? You know, are you feeling pain or are you feeling discomfort?
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling pain,
then
you need to adjust. There's something. Like you have to listen to your body.
Right.
And so when I woke up on Thursday, I just felt just not myself.
Not feeling it.
I was thinking when the kids go, you know, to school, after I drop Audrey off, I'm just going to come home and check out.
Yeah.
And just watch TV and not have to think about anything.
No retreat.
Because I started thinking,
nothing.
Like I started thinking about the retreat, and I was very aware where my thoughts were going and how I started to feel because what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I recognized this feeling, and I'm like, this isn't good. Like, it's not. I know that if I continue to allow myself to be in this space, that it's going to lead to more negative thoughts.
Which could start a cycle.
Right. So I'm like, LA Fitness, because that's where I go work out. When I thought about going to work out, I'm like, I don't want to be around people or the noise. So that's one voice. And I recognize that voice. And then I heard the other voice. Go for a hike.
Yeah.
Get out in nature. Connect to yourself. You need some sun. You need to recharge.
Dude, and then you had an incredible hike.
Yes.
You were like Cinderella, attracting all the little animals.
And I felt good after.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that when you push through the discomfort, usually you'll feel good after. Right. Usually.
Yeah.
You usually feel good about what you did, even as uncomfortable as it might have been.
Like I was proud that I made that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. You know that, and what I was talking about earlier, when on this past Monday, my feet were still jacked up, so I taped them up again. And at the end of class, the adult class, we're getting ready to go home, and Joey like sees me taking the tape off of my feet, and he's like, "Dad, is that the tape?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, that's the tape I was telling you about, you know?
Yesterday,
and it's worth it.
I went with you guys to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching you. And I'm thinking to myself, like, your husband's a beast.
It's funny that you say that, because you're thinking that as I'm getting the shit beat out of me.
But I see you.
Like, it was literally
through, like, just
a fucking beatdown.
so uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable. And you just keep getting after it. And at the same time, I'm thinking about Joey and the standard, or the, what is it called? That you're
The bar or the standard, yeah.
Yeah, you have a pretty high bar. You know, and like I told you, you know, it's important that you talk to Joey and that he sees that, but know that he doesn't have to be that, because he probably sees you like untouchable. Because I'm watching you and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, like to me, I'm like proud, right? Like,
yeah.
And at the same time, I'm just like, it makes me feel good because you are a reminder when I'm not pushing myself to be that.
But
you know,
one can be.
Like when I see you, like yesterday, you were working out, you know, and I'm like, got to go to the gym. Like you're that reminder when I don't feel like it. You know, and you sent me a text message.
It's not always, yeah.
That day when I wasn't feeling well, emotionally connected. And you said, I love you very much.
No.
And I'm like, thank you. I needed to hear that. Like right at that moment, like I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And you checked in on me and I'm like, my head's not right. I need to get my head right.
Yeah. And that happens to everybody. It happens to me. As much as you talk about like the shit that I do, and yeah, it happens to me too. Like it happens to me all the time. It happens in jiu-jitsu. It happened. Like I had that thought last week sometime. Like I'm thinking about, like, the podcast is right around the corner, the new one. We're busy enough as it is with the podcast that we have now. I also talked about, like, now I'm not doing the tournament, which that would have added to it, but it would have been right around this time. So like I said, I refocused the podcast, and then I also said that I'm starting school. And then you start getting that anxiety almost, or what. It's like, what the fuck? Like, why did I put this shit out there? You know, like, am I fucking crazy? Like, what are you thinking? You already have a fucking podcast. You're starting another podcast. You're going to start a class with Harvard. Like,
you're going to give me anxiety right now.
But it's like that for a little bit. It's too late. I think I don't know if I mentioned this last week or whatever, but I've been listening to this book by 50 Cent, and Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Yeah, definitely recommend it. It's a really good book. And we're going to go see 50 Cent next week here in Arizona, which is going to be the shit. So, but anyway, in the book, he literally just says, like, just do shit. Just do shit. And that's the thing, is that I already put it out there. So you already put it out there. Like, we've been talking about how you feel about, like, how you maybe feel like checking out. It doesn't fucking matter anymore, because it's on no matter what. No matter how you feel, you can have that day if you want. But guess what? The fucking clock is ticking, and there's people that are going to be showing up to a retreat. So you know that the bottom line is you're going to fucking buckle down and get this shit done.
Yeah.
You know? You just got to keep doing shit. But the thing is that a lot of people don't even start. So because when you don't start, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But that's where the growth happens. It's the doubt. It's the overcoming the doubt. And that's how it becomes easier to overcome the doubt.
Right.
By fucking taping up your feet and keep running and getting your fucking ass beat and going back again. By fucking doing this, like, yeah, getting out and working out when you don't feel like it. by making appointments when you fucking, I don't feel like calling anybody. That's just how it is. And the other thing is that if you don't do it, then everything was in vain. You've wasted your time because the momentum that you were building is now dead. If you wait too long, things slow down and then you have to start back over again. If you don't keep training, then what was the fucking beating for in the first place? If you don't keep working out to this morning after the fucking beatdown that I got yesterday, I told Joey right at the pull-up bar, I'm like, I can't fucking stop. This is why I keep doing this shit. Because you can't just let the world beat you down. You have to keep fucking moving. So I did another 100 pull-ups this morning. And that's just what it is. One thing that I've been struggling with lately is waking up. Like there was a time where I would wake up like at 4 a.m. and go running every fucking day. Like it was crazy. It was. And you know, I took a lot of pride in that. You know, it was like 2.5 or 2 years straight, like every morning, just running 4 miles at 4 o'clock in the morning, every other day. And recently it's just like, I set my alarm and then I fucking turn it off. I set my alarm and I turn it off. And that same Thursday that you were feeling the way you were feeling, I had set my alarm for, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was going to do my 100 pull-ups and get my workout in before I went to work that day. But kind of how you were feeling, my alarm went off at 5. And then I was like, fuck it, 5:30, 5:40, you know, whatever. I'll just fucking set it so that I can make it to work on time. Mm-hmm. And that was it. But then the entire day, I'm feeling like shit. Because I know that what I should have done was woke up early in the morning and got that shit in. But then, like I said, I'm dreading it the whole day. But once I got home, I was like, fuck it. You got to do it now. Because the day is not done. And then I was going to skip my cardio. And I ended up getting in half of it. And I almost killed myself on the last couple minutes because I was like, you know what? We were about to have dinner. It was getting late. And I was like, I don't have 30 minutes. I got 15. And then Audrey comes and like, we're ready for dinner. And that was at 12 minutes. And I was like, I guess I'll just try to kill myself on these last 3 minutes. And I went so hard on that freaking elliptical. But these are the one thing that I think about when I'm doing these things is that this is the time. This is the time to push myself because this is where it's safe. This is my training. In the gym with the guys. That is where you push yourself. That is where it's safe. That's where your friends are. That's where they're going to take care of you and push you. When it's time to compete, it's time to go. That's different. But these are the times to get better. You know? It's pushing through the stuff because these are the safe places. Like I'm in my garage. Nobody's fucking. It's just on me. Just to make myself get better. And that's it.
Yes. And then I think it's important that we share these things because people need to know the struggle, like the inner struggle that we have.
Yeah.
Because they see where we're at today in our relationship, in our family dynamic, right? Like just the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is it that they keep succeeding, that they keep growing, they keep doing, they keep, right?
Yeah.
It's because we work at it. With everything. Like I had a talk with Adriana, you know, our relationship. It wasn't Audrey. It was one of my clients. I'm like, I know that I walk the walk. Like I'm a coach that helps individuals in their relationships, with their spirituality, And at times it's with their finances. I mean, when I'm with my clients, there's all kinds of
areas
challenges that come up. And I feel good knowing that I teach what I know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like when you hire a fitness trainer, you expect them to, you're not going to hire someone who's unhealthy or overweight.
Yeah.
You want someone who's doing the shit. They're living what they're teaching. Right. And I'm teaching what I'm living.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like I've said before, that's exactly why I continue to fight. Because I like teaching. I like sharing with people new stuff. You know, like I said, wherever I go, I try to like leave something there. You know, I try to pick something up that I learned at a different school, and I try to leave something there that we do from our school and teach it to a couple people there so that they can, you know, pass it around or whatever. But like I said, the only way for you to sincerely coach this stuff is to live it. And the only way for me to sincerely coach is to fight. There's no way around it.
Right.
You know?
It's good stuff.
Yeah. And then after, what's up? You're going to...
Oh, go ahead.
No,
I was going to talk about, we had a date night last night.
Yeah.
What were you were calling us old a little while ago. What the hell? I'm like, what? We're not old. Old people don't do what we did last night and this morning.
That's different.
It's funny because we were going to go out. We're like, let's go grab a drink and then let's go watch a movie.
Yeah. But we decided, we hadn't been dancing in forever, but dude, the place was whack. Like there's no dance floor. Like the music was all right, but the vibe was shitty.
But I had a good time with you.
I had fun with you. Yeah. I mean, we were hanging out. We were having a good time. We had fun at dinner, and then we got a couple more drinks.
Yes. And then the party continued when we got home.
Yup. That was fun too.
And that's when you know you're on track.
Yep. That was awesome, babe. That was fun. It was fun having you at jiu-jitsu and then going out to dinner, and it's been a while.
I didn't know if you were going to feel like doing anything after jiu-jitsu. That's why I was like, how are you feeling?
You know what's funny? The other day, Joey was reading, you know, because he'll come around us and he'll read his book for a little while and we'll listen to him read. And he was the book that he's reading is about a kid who gets mauled by a bear. And he was reading the word mauled and didn't know what it meant. And I was explaining to him, and actually we were kind of going back sentences before and the sentences after, like, what do you think it means? What are they saying? Like, what could it possibly be or whatever? And then we finally get to like, oh yeah, you get attacked when you get attacked by an animal. You can get mauled by a bear, you can get mauled by a lion or whatever. And then I was telling him like the other ways that you can use it in speech. Like if you are playing football and one team just destroys the other team got mauled. Or if there's a fight and somebody gets the shit beat out of them, they got mauled. And yesterday after jiu-jitsu, I told Joey, I was like, dude, I got mauled in jiu-jitsu today. You know, and he was like, I saw it.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I had him. I'm like, hey, come here. This was when I was at jiu-jitsu with you yesterday. And I had him sit on my lap. And I said, dude, you need to sit here and watch your dad. I said, he was rolling. What do you guys roll for? 3 minutes?
5. I think yesterday was 5.
5 minutes. And you were with the dude that was pretty tough. Like, he's probably twice your size, right?
No, he's not.
No?
200 and fucking, I mean, but he's 200 pounds probably.
Yeah.
And I'm 160. So he is bigger than me.
Yeah. And I'm watching this and I'm seeing you And I told Joey, I'm like, your dad didn't give up not once.
Yeah.
And I was sharing with him because I noticed with Joey that he tends to go for the boys that are smaller than him.
And then you just kind of lollygag.
Right.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm like, look at your dad. Does he
look at him. Look at him. You see him over there with his fucking head pressed into the mat? You see him where he can't breathe? His head's turning purple.
I'm like, he continues like to fight. He continues to move forward.
Yeah.
And he's just, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I told you, I think they're gonna need a lot of that stuff in the future. I think that's the one thing that we have to leave behind more than anything. Because if you have that, you'll be all right. That's it. You gotta have that fucking willingness.
You need the balance, right? They need a little bit of me and a little bit of you.
Yeah.
What?
I'd rather be unbalanced in the one direction than the other.
That gets you in trouble.
It can.
It will.
But the other will get you nowhere.
Like I was sharing with you. Think about Audrey when she was younger. She was the same way.
Yeah. No, and she
Very
found,
kind,
like we said, yeah, she found her.
Very loving. Didn't want to hurt a thing. Right?
Yeah.
And now
she's scrappy.
Competitive. Puts herself in tough situations. It may just be the age.
Yeah.
Because when I see you and how you are with him, like you open up to him, you're vulnerable with him.
Yeah.
He sees both sides in you.
Yep. He sees all the shit I struggle with. Yeah. Should do it anyway.
And he's only 11.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough. Because if you really think about it, every generation is softer. What were we doing at 11? Way more than any of these fucking kids. What was the generation before us doing at 11? And the generation before that? They were waking the fuck up to go give cows hay and shit. And fucking go get water from the well. And go fucking churn butter or whatever the fuck you do back in those days when you have candles. 11-year-olds probably did a lot more shit.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that they're not capable of doing it today.
And our kids are growing up in a different kind of atmosphere, baby.
I get it.
Different neighborhood.
But the way the world is turning, you need to have more of what the previous generations had. Which is grit. Look around today. Look around. Everything is fucking padded and soft. Everything. That's the way the world is turning.
And that's why you're right. And this is why today, what do we do? What a lot of people are focusing on mental endurance. Cold plunges.
Yeah.
Like continuing to push yourself because you're right. It's easier today.
Yeah.
With technology, everything.
Yeah.
Technology has made everything easier.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like even with Joey, like talking to him about reading and writing and all that shit. It's like, I have a good feeling that you should know how to write correctly. You know, like you should be able to put a sentence together that makes sense. You should be able to express yourself and get your ideas out in verbally, or you should be able to write it. I think you should be able to do both. And you shouldn't rely on a computer to do that for you. Like math is the same thing. You can use a calculator. I'll use a calculator, but you should know what to do when and where and why. Like you still have to know these things, right? And it's kind of tough, like you said, with technology in the future. But I told Joey, I'm like, no matter what, anything that you want to do, you're not going to have AI to do it for you. If you're starting a business, you want to be a geologist, whatever it is, you're going to have to do the things that you don't want to do. Technology is not always going to be able to help you. There's always something. It's crazy because no matter how good or how much you love something or how much passion you have for something, there is something else that is connected to it that you're going to have to do that you're not going to like to do. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is.
Unless you make a shitload of money and then you hire someone to do the thing that you don't want to do.
Well, you could do that, but it's going to take a long time of sacrifice and doing the things that you don't want to do before you get to that point. Nobody ever starts out just paying for shit and have people do the shitty stuff. That it doesn't work that way ever. You build yourself to that. You teach somebody else how to do the shitty stuff. Give them experience on how to do the shitty stuff so that they can build their own shit. But in the meantime, they help and, like you're teaching them or something. But in the beginning, you're going to do it yourself. And that is part of the fucking problem. Like so many people, it's like, how can I find an easier way to do this? How can I take a shorter route? Sometimes that it is what it is. Just fucking do it. Sometimes it is better to take a shorter route. It's smarter. But there's times when, you know what? Buckle the fuck down and get it done.
When you were talking to me about, or we were listening to the 50 Cent book in the car, and I was thinking, because these days, in order to grow a successful business, there's a certain following that you need.
The social media presence.
All of that.
Yeah.
And even last night when you and I were out and we took a picture and somehow I started recording a live reel.
Yeah. We don't even know how we did that. We just clicked buttons and then we didn't know how to stop it.
So if you go on Instagram,
it might
we did
still
our
be there.
First reel on
on our date night.
And it was fun. And we got a couple people saying, hey, and I'm like, oh shit, this is alive.
We thought we were making a video. Yeah.
Yes. No. Well.
Or a boomerang.
Yes. A boomerang. Yes. And so I'm like, oh, because I've seen my niece do it when we went out, and I'm like, let's do a boomerang. And Miguel's like, what's a boomerang? And I'm like, here, let me show you. And it ended up being a live reel. So I'm like, okay, well, we got to start somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like doing that, figuring that out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just part of it. Like our nephew, he wanted to be a professional gamer. And I remember talking to him and telling him like, hey, you might love playing games, but I can guarantee you it's not all about that. There's going to be, like, I had the same conversation. I remember it. I'm like, there's going to be parts of this that you don't like to do that you're going to have to be disciplined about doing. It's going to be maybe the social media part. It's going to be finding those groups of gamers so that you can get in there. Hey, my name is so-and-so. I play at this time. I do these things. But maybe you don't feel like doing that shit. Maybe all you want to do is play games, but you're never going to fucking make it because you're not doing the other shit that it takes to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when you think of everything that goes into growing a business and you think back and it's like, well, maybe it might be easier just to work a job.
Oh, that's a great point. And that's something that I actually wanted to talk about. We talked about that last week, was like working, like how you can get taken advantage when you work for these big companies sometimes. And like you hear about it in the news and all that. But before we get into that, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go there, you can see how you can follow the podcast, like I said before, at Opposite Pod on just about everything except for the new clips channel. That's at Opposites Attract Podcast Clips. Or you could just search that on YouTube. or search the internet for Opposites Attract Podcast, and we pop up everywhere. And you can share, like, subscribe, rate, leave a comment,
subscribe here,
all that stuff, ding, ding, all of that. And if you guys want to support the show, you can click on the support the show tab on our website. That'll take you to our Amazon link. And whenever you guys shop through Amazon, it won't cost you anything extra, but we'll get a little kickback and it'll help us out and we can pay for some stuff around here. And another way that you can support the show is
go to buymeacoffee.com/opposite-pod.
What the hell? Yeah.
And you can that's a virtual drink, and you can also subscribe monthly. Sorry, I totally jacked that up. I was thinking.
You were somewhere.
I was thinking while I was speaking.
Yeah. So that's how you can help support the show. And so let me see. What was last week we were talking about that song and all that kind of stuff, and we don't need to get into all that stuff, but I was talking about like the corporations and like how, you know, sometimes you work for a place and they can take advantage, like, hey, you have to work these hours, you have to do these things, and you have to be here on the weekend, and you have, you know, or sometimes you work at a place that management changes and people start fucking with you and the culture changes, and maybe the place that you used to love to work, you don't really love to work there anymore. And there's all kinds of shit that can happen. Yes. But the bottom line, like with what we were talking about last week, with the way everything is going, and not just because of the direction that we're headed, like as a country and all the things that are happening, but just for yourself. Like, no matter what, whenever you work for somebody else, you are at their mercy. You are not in control. No matter how much you love whatever it is that you do, you are not in control. And like I was saying, when you're headed towards uncertain times, that's the point of being your own boss, of having your own assets, of building your own businesses, of doing things so that you don't have to rely on a company to pay you or on the government to give you money or on any of that stuff. If something was to happen, there's businesses. I mean, I've seen like, and there's ways to do it. You just got to figure it out. But there's like these YouTube automation companies that they make like videos automatically, and it'll make you a freaking monetized channel, but it's complicated. You have to learn how to do that kind of stuff. There's Amazon drop shipping businesses. There's like all kinds of stuff, but you have to be willing to look at this stuff and invest the time, make the sacrifices to grow this stuff so that you can build yourself that way. Because at the end of the day, like, you can work at this job, and the other thing is they have things that they offer as well. And I've always said, like I said earlier, I'm going to be taking this class. I'm not paying for this class. My work is going to pay for this class. Like, I am not going to just sit around and all these, this is a good point. A lot of these places where people say that they get taken advantage of have a lot of benefits. There are these really big places that have a shit ton of benefits a lot of times. A lot of times they will pay for a lot of training, a lot of different shit that you can do that'll make you better. And at the end of the day, use it. Use it to build your own business, to get smarter, to learn more. Invest it in yourself. You don't have to get taken advantage of. You know, like, that's the point of everything, is to be able to be your own person.
We don't need a lot of shit.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, how free would that be?
I was just watching something while we were getting ready, like this dude that lives out in the freaking woods.
How do you know where I was going? How did you know I was going there? It's like, you can sell everything. We can sell everything. I can coach from everywhere, anywhere.
We could put a studio in the RV.
Sell the houses. Sell the cars. Sell the kids. No.
That's it. We'll have enough money.
Live. Experience.
All right, now you're talking crazy.
Travel.
We got shit to do.
Be free.
Yeah. Sounds great.
There's people that do that.
There are. And it seems like a great life. Like I was actually watching some stuff recently about this family that was like trying to homesteading is what it's called. Like they're trying to set up a piece of land so that they have a well and all that stuff. And it's tough. Like I can't imagine like living a life like that, but I would imagine that it's pretty fulfilling at the end of the day. It's probably a lot of work, you know, because you have to fucking tend to your chickens and your garden and all that shit, or else you're going to die, you know, but it's fulfilling at the end of the day. That's the fucking where shit's getting easier. What are you trying to do? Go back to the old times where it was harder. And there's a lot of benefits to that too, because you know where your shit's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably a lot healthier.
And you're free.
And you're smart in different ways. You learn different things.
Just
cool.
to disconnect.
That's it. We're going off the grid. We're going to be hippies.
I'm putting myself there. Like I'm taking myself there. I can't. We're recording right now. Okay. I'm back. No.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Would you be able to do it?
No, I don't want to do that. Fuck that. Not
right now.
Not right now.
We're too young.
Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Yeah, I can't. There, without Wi-Fi, are we gonna have Wi-Fi out there or not?
Wi-Fi.
We're gonna die without Wi-Fi. I mean, if we got Wi-Fi, maybe.
There's Starbucks everywhere. We just gotta drive.
No, the point is to be off the grid.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's mucho way. It's too much. But anyway, what you got, babe? So, man, earlier this week, some crazy shit happened at Audrey's school. So I got an email from her high school. Audrey's a freshman in high school, and it's crazy. Like we've talked about where we live, and it's almost like a little paradise neighborhood like area. You know, everywhere around here is like really nice. Everything is like really clean. Like when it's nice out, you see people riding their bikes out in the street and the fucking ice cream trucks coming around and like all this stuff. The high school is right across the street. And
people are walking their dogs, working out.
Yeah. And the other day I get an email from Audrey's school, and they said that they had an incident that happened and that a student told a teacher that another student had a weapon on campus. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I don't know what happened, but the student found out, or they went and approached the student that he was talking about, and he took off. And they ended up going after him, and they arrested the kid. And then they searched the route that he ran, that he fled the school from, and they found a gun on the trail, on the route that he went home. And dude, like that was across that's like our daughter's school.
Right. That's why there's lots of people these days homeschooling.
I was talking to you about that.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to start bashing schools, but Arizona's 49th out of fucking 50, so fuck them. You know, like in school. And the schools, everybody knows, is a fucking disaster. So I don't give a shit. I've mentioned it. They got a couple jobs to do. Reading, writing, and fucking math. Besides that, I don't give a shit. The other day, like Joey was coming down with all this fucking bullshit that he has to do. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about any of that. The only thing I care about you doing is reading, writing, and math. Like, and they don't do a very good job with that. And it's like, with all the shit that's happening in schools, on top of that, like, I don't know, we were talking to our kids about like what they're teaching them and, you know, like the political stuff. And it's like, what's the point? They're not learning the important things that they're supposed to be learning. On top of that, they're teaching them stuff that is fucking useless a lot of the times. They're going to learn the things that they want to learn that they're interested in on their own. And then you have this kind of shit happening. And it's like, is it even fucking worth it? You know what I mean? With all going to school with all these with these kids that a lot of have issues. Like I said, look at where we're fucking headed. You know, it's like, is it worth it to even fucking send them to school? Like, we can teach them what they're going to need to know. It looks like like I told you, it looks like in the future, we're going to have to, like I've been saying, build businesses. They can work with us. They can keep whatever the fuck we build and they can keep it going. And that will be how how we change the legacy. Because it looks like everything else is fucking falling apart. The schools are a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
The government's a shit show. Companies are shit shows. We got to do it ourselves. Like I said, rely on yourself. If it's a fucking problem, what are you going to do? Do something about it. And that's what we need to do.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. But man, like.
No, that is, when you told me that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to stay on top of and find out.
What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, or what happened.
Yeah. I know they arrested the kid. They had him in custody and everything. So I need to look it up because it was just recent.
And she knew nothing about it.
They didn't talk about it at the school. I asked her the next day. I'm like, did they mention it? Nothing. The students were talking about it. I don't know. How could they not have like an assembly or some shit?
Right. That doesn't make sense. Maybe they didn't want to put fear within the kids.
What do you mean fucking fear? Somebody had a gun at school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there should be some kind of awareness or something like, hey, keep your fucking eyes peeled out here. Right?
Yeah.
Something. Like not just
because
sending a fucking email.
They have drills.
They should have an announcement. Yeah, an assembly or fucking something.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, let's pull them out.
Yeah. No, it's a fucking disaster. Because we talked about that too. It's like, and then what? I'm not a fucking teacher.
Oh, yes. I wouldn't know what to do with that.
Just keep reading.
But there's so many
I'd be
families.
like, read more.
Right. There's so many families that do it. And part of the curriculum, like there was this woman at the grocery store and she had all her kids. And that was part of their curriculum, teaching them.
Yeah. Well, you know, I remember listening to this podcast, the Adam Carolla show, and I remember one time it's been a long time since I listened to it, but I remember he used to say, like, being a celebrity, like there's things that he would go and do, and he was like, I'll just pull my kids out of school. He's like, I would much rather them have this experience with me going to this thing and seeing these things and meeting these people and like seeing what we do than whatever the fuck they're going to learn in school. You know what I mean? Like this experience is worth way more than that. Kind of like what we were going to do, like me going to compete in Las Vegas.
Right.
Like we were planning on pulling the kids out. And it's worth more to them to see me compete in Vegas than it would be whatever fucking bullshit they're going to teach them in school.
When we think about where we are in this world and how advanced we are, when you look at the kids' curriculum and what they're teaching them, nothing has changed. That's
because the schools are ran by the government and the government fucks everything
up. Babe,
up.
we should stop talking about this stuff. No.
This is the one that got us canceled. No, I'm just, hey, fuck that. It is what it is. Yeah. If you want to fuck something up real good, let the government do it.
Babe, shut up.
I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh.
That's the truth.
So go to www.oppositesattractpod.
Yeah, and subscribe and
to the resource
send us your
list
email
so
that when this gets taken down, we can still get a hold of you guys. Holy shit. So yeah, so we've been working on the other shows, on the other podcast. I mean, even though you were saying like you were feeling the way you were feeling, you still turned it around and you've been going out shopping, you've been doing the things that you need to do for this retreat, and it's
pretty much like it's done.
Yeah,
the agenda.
You got a couple spots left.
Yes.
And if anybody is interested, hit us up, get a hold of us through the website at Opposite Pod. However, you can get a hold of us on any of our Instagram accounts, the personal ones, the podcast ones. If you're interested, hit us up, and hopefully there's a spot available, because there's not many left.
No.
So, but what I was going to say, when you're feeling that way, like there's times where you just feel overwhelmed. Like I said, thinking about the new show that's coming out, thinking about fucking taking this Harvard class, thinking about, because we're working on all these things together, right? Thinking about your retreat, thinking about growing the coaching business. Like, we just got business cards ordered for you. We're working on the art for your podcast, for my podcast, the logos, right? All that stuff. It's overwhelming when you start really thinking about all that stuff, but I don't think you can avoid that. Or maybe you at a certain point, you get to the point where you don't think about, or you don't think that way anymore. Mm-hmm. But the only way to get out of it is to prioritize and execute. You have to stop thinking about all of these things, because that's not going to change and that's not going to do anything but give you more anxiety. You have to shift to, okay, these things are there. What is the first thing that I need to do? Right. What is the second thing that I need to do? And then just make a list and go, okay, this is the most important thing right now. This is it. This is next. This is next. And then once you get started, before you know it, you're getting shit done.
And it's being aware, really. It's being mindful, and being aware of the feelings, the emotions, your thoughts, and recognizing, just as I did.
Yeah.
And most people, well, I don't want to say that, but it's important not to check out.
What do you like, to fall into that cycle?
Yes. Because it's very easy to do. When you start looking at everything, and
then you do nothing.
When you start looking at your life, and maybe you're not in a good place, and you allow everything just to pile up, and your thoughts just start controlling.
It's just one negative thought after another, just all compounding.
Yeah. And now, you're
in a funk. Yeah. You have to be aware.
Be able to pull yourself out of that. Like, you have to be able to get yourself back on track.
And we've mentioned this before, but that's also something that people can fall into a cycle of, like, just that constant negative thinking. And when you start falling into a cycle of that, that's when things can get dark and bad, because at that point it's going to take more than just awareness. Like, you're going to need something to snap you out of it.
Right.
In the beginning, you can have awareness to kind of get yourself back on track. But once you start going down that path for a while, and that's just your conditioning, you're starting to condition your brain to just think negatively about everything. There's these people out there. I mean, everybody's known them, that everything is negative. They complain about everything. They need something to snap them out of that cycle.
That morning, I reached out to a friend who's also a coach. Because the people, and I mentioned this before, those of us that are always happy, we're the last ones people think to check on.
Yeah.
And I gave her a call, and I told her, hey, I'm in a funk, and would love some time to chat. I'm about to get a cramp in my foot. And she had clients back to back, And she ended up giving me a call like about 3:00. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Just listened to your message. She's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And I shared with her, you know, what I was going through and how I pulled myself out. She's like, good job. Yeah. She's like, good job. She's like, a lot of times we're pouring into others and we need to disconnect.
Yeah.
So she's like, it's great that you recognize what it was that you needed.
Yes. And you just said disconnecting, which is important to be aware of, because when you start going down that cycle, that is one of the things, like you said, that you feel like you don't want to talk to the people that are getting after it the way you were. You don't want to talk to the people that are still doing the things that you want to be doing, or that have the mindset or whatever it is that you're trying to attract for yourself that you're not doing, that's putting you in this funk, these negative things. You don't want to see those people. You don't want to be around them. You don't want to talk to them because you're ashamed of yourself, ashamed of what you're doing, ashamed of what you're not doing. But that is another thing that, like you said, you reached out to your friend. And that is something that's important, because those people do care about you. Everybody's got their own shit going on.
Right.
But everybody knows the struggle.
Yes.
Everybody knows the struggle. And I know that if you call one of those people that you used to get busy with, like you guys used to get after it, they will most likely pick you up if that's how, if that's the circle that you run with. You got to be careful not to call those negative people.
Right. Right.
Because
misery,
misery loves company.
Yep, loves company. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's having those people that you know. And that's the first time actually that I've done that. Like
you
reached out to someone. Because normally I'm pretty good at being aware of myself. But I have those special people in my life now where I know that they have my back.
Yeah.
And that they can also relate to the things that I'm going through because they do similar work.
Yeah. I think it all starts with doing shit. Like we were saying earlier. You have to start doing shit, because when you start doing it, you're going to meet these people. And then once you meet these people, you can build that circle. And then when you get into that funk, you can tap into that circle and they can help you get out. But you got to start doing shit. Nobody's going to come if you don't start. It just doesn't work that way. Build it and they will come. I think that's from an old boring baseball movie with Kevin Costner. Because
we old.
Because we old.
We old.
It's been a while since I used that one.
I know. I forgot we had that. Because we old. Speak for yourself. No.
But
speaking of that, no. Last night.
What's that?
When we were jamming in the car.
Yeah. We get to the bar and we just sit in the car, outside the bar, listening to 90s hip hop. We're like, dude, our music was so much better. And then like at first we're like, nah, we're just old. And then we start listening to the music and we're like, no, music fucking sucks today. And it's like, there's half of it's good. The other half fucking sucks. I was like, our music was actually really good.
Yeah.
But you know what? We were listening to that 50 Cent book and he was talking about that too. And it makes you think, like, he was saying like from ages 12 or 14 to like 22, like the music that is playing in the world at that point in your life from 12 to 22 is like what stays with you forever. Like that is like the soundtrack to your life. And dude, it's crazy because you do. I mean, you listen to some of those tracks and they take you back.
Yes.
Like right back to that spot.
Yes. The power of music.
I love it. It's so cool. I have my cousin Danny sent me something about this old hip hop track about samples that they took from another older song and they made the beat and all this stuff. And I was just telling him about growing up in the 90s in New York, in Queens. And it's fucking, like, it was a special place. Like, it's not something that anybody else could, unless you lived there at that time, you wouldn't know what it was like. But to have the music coming out of this place, out of our neighborhoods, and like Big Pun and like riding the subways that they rap about, like all that shit, you know, when there was a Biggie song where he's rapping about, you know, every Saturday Rap Attack, Mr. Magic Marley Marl, like that, those were shows that we listened to from our local radio station. And these were playing all over the world. Like people sing along to it, but they didn't know exactly what it was. We understood all of it because we lived it.
That's cool.
That's why it was different. And then when you listen to how big those songs and how iconic they are today, it's cool, like to like be from there and have that experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like riding the subways and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty special. And then we're going to get to experience that on Tuesday. Go watch 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be cool. Yeah, we'll make sure we post some pictures up for you all.
Yep.
And maybe record a reel. No.
Yeah, or a boomerang if we figure out how to do that shit. We're still learning. We're always learning, always growing,
constant,
always getting better.
I think I had in this book, it says to master being a student. A master is a master because they mastered being a student. Forever learning. Forever learning. There's always something new to learn.
You know, in jiu-jitsu, like one of the biggest, one of the biggest like founders or icons or legends, whatever you want to call it, in jiu-jitsu is Elio Gracie. He's like one of the founders. And he was one of the smaller guys. Like he had to learn jiu-jitsu, like the technical stuff, because he wasn't the biggest guy. So he had to make it work with less strength. And he had some physical medical stuff going on too that also kind of kept him, which made him like weaker. So he had to learn jiu-jitsu. And he also didn't enjoy fighting and fought because he wanted to teach. Like that was also his mentality. But in jiu-jitsu, you get a black belt after some, you know, when you become an expert, right? You get your black belt. But above a black belt is a red belt. That those are for like the people that changed like the history of jiu-jitsu. And Elio Gracie was a red belt, a coral belt, they call it. And there's a story of him getting this coral belt, or it might have been the black belt or whatever, but then he would eventually take off the coral belt and put on a blue belt again. Because he felt like that's the belt where you're really like, if you really love it, you're going to keep doing it. You know, and you're still at that learning. Like he's like, I will forever be a blue belt. That's my mentality, you know, to get better. Like I don't know it all. There's always something to learn. Even after getting a coral belt, you know, and that's something that I've always felt that way about. That's one of the reasons also why I love jiu-jitsu. It's because like there is no end to it. You can see that somebody's going to make up a new move. Somebody's going to figure out a new way to choke you.
I was thinking that yesterday while I was watching you. Like, is there, you know, like the moves, do you continue to learn new moves or do you learn them all? You know, like, is there an end?
There is no end.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Because things become popular and then they fade away and then they come back. And then people work on them and make those things better. I mean, I guess eventually with enough time, you'll figure out everything. But
is that what a red belt is?
No, red belts are the ones that have changed. Like they've moved the sport forward. Like when they came into the game, something changed in jiu-jitsu from that point forward. Like for some of them, maybe it was leg locks. Like they did a lot of stuff from the guard and pulling people down. Well, they started attacking legs and ankle locks and foot locks and knee bars and all that. And they completely changed jiu-jitsu. You know, so when somebody does something like that, or they're just a dominant champion and they bring us, you know, they have their school and they have champions that come from their school, stuff like that. You know, they'll give a coral belt. And also it not just that, but I think you have to be a black belt for like 20 years or 30 years. Jeez. You can't even get a coral belt unless you've been a black belt for a certain amount of years. But, you know, yesterday was tough. And I was kind of thinking about like I said, like you can't, if you stop, it was for nothing. And if it wasn't this hard, I don't know if I would do it. I don't know. I've always kind of been that way. That's why I want to do this Harvard class. It's not for anybody else. I mean, I know I can. And these things are hard, but I can do them. And I don't really, that's why like when you say about Joey, like that it's hard for him to live up, I don't expect him to live up to any of this stuff. I don't expect anybody to do what I do. I do them because I want to do them. Not, you know, I want to push myself. I want to challenge myself. I want to see what I'm capable of. And I know what I'm capable of. You just got to take step by step. And I'll get there. We'll get there. We can all get there. Right?
Yes, yes.
And with that, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like I said, you guys can follow us everywhere by searching Opposites Attract Podcast. Follow that new podcast clips channel on YouTube, Opposites Attract Podcast Clips. Like I said, it's that red logo with the podcast logo with the red in it. And all the clips will be coming out there.
Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract Podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.